let's start with the feet wide, and let's just take some reaches up. So lots of big body movements to start with in our warm-up. So trying to touch the ceiling, reaching up, looking up, everything lifts up a little bit. We're lifting the rib cage off of the hips, and then hold both arms up, and then just lower your eye line, let those shoulders drop down a little bit, and we're going to take some gentle big swings, I call these. So the knees are going over the toes. I'm not taking a great big movement for the moment, just breathing out. As I get a bit more comfortable with it, I'm going to let my head relax. I'm going to let my fingertips brush the floor. Knees are over the toes, nice and wide. And then adding on to that, a big old double, maybe triple shoulder roll, or the whole arm if you can handle that. If that's too much for the moment, no problem at all. Just stick to the shoulder rolls. So taking those movements backwards, and a couple more of those. Big swing, relax, big shoulder roll, elbows are soft, make sure there's no tension, although that might be a little bit uncomfortable. Let's do one more. No tension in the shoulders, the neck, and we're not really doing enough to create any tension where that needs stretching. But remember, if you feel like you want to stretch anything out at any stage, then please do. So let's get those feet moving. I wanted you to just we're going to do some slow pony trots. And I'm just starting by raising up onto the balls of my feet and sort of pushing my toes over. It's like I'm bending my toes. And then I'm going to exaggerate that movement a little bit more. I'm going to add, so I'm rising up, lowering through a straight leg, bending that knee. I'm adding a little bit of a calf stretch. This isn't meant to be pretty, it's a sort of, it's a stretchy, mobilising movement, just sort of waking up your extremities. And actually while I'm doing it, let's take some finger twiddles, so all a little bit strange. I'm adding on to this, I'm pointing my toes at the end. So I'm bending my knees are over the toes roughly, and as I lift that, as I bend those toes over, I'm pointing the foot down towards the floor. And still twiddling fingertips. So let's stay on one side, let's stay in your deepest bend. For me it's not very much. Hold that there. Let's circle, hands round and the foot round. Wrists and ankles mobilising, change direction. See if you can rise up on that one leg, that's quite strong, and then go on to the other leg, all the way down. So I've got a mirror in front of me. If you can work with the mirror in front of you, perfect. I'm looking and checking that my knees are over my toes, hips are level, shoulders are level. It's not perfect, like I said, it's not meant to be perfect, it's just a bit of a waking up of everything. So it's really important to be able to move your extremities, fingers and toes, as much as possible. And what it does is it wakes up your central nervous system. One more, onto that other leg. And for me as well, I'm getting quite a nice little calf stretch here. Warming up my ankles, feet are alive, feeling a little bit warmer down the forearms now, which is perfect. I'm going to turn sideways, taking my arms nice and wide for butterfly arms. So I'm putting the names of all my exercises down in the description of the classes so that you can sort of look at it and think, oh yeah, I really fancy doing some of those today. So this is a much bigger movement. We're aiming to just mobilise the spine, mobilise the rib cage, and I call it butterfly arms because I want you to imagine your arms are the wings of a butterfly. And as I push my ribs back and bring my arms forwards, I'm bending my knees slightly, tucking the pelvis under, drawing that belly button in. As I shift my rib cage forwards, I'm pinning the arms back a little bit, getting a stretch at the front of the chest. I'm straightening my legs, I'm probably overarching my lower back a little bit, but that's fine. That's how the shape of my back, you might not be there. So if this was feeling a bit too much with that long lever of the arms, you could just be here. Or you could just only focus on the rib cage shifting forwards and back. There's really no right and wrong. Let's take a spine mobilisation, thinking about the shape of your spine. You're going to lift your chest up to the ceiling, look up to the ceiling, stick your bottom out, find your legs with your hands, fingertips in, elbows out to the side. From here, I'm in a nice braced position. I'm going to unravel my chest, my spine over my legs. The head hangs down last. Then we've got the chest lift part. As I come up, I strongly tuck that pelvis under, draw my belly button in really nice and tight, pushing that pubic bone forwards, which helps to support and protect the back as you roll up. This isn't going to hurt your back in any way. If you're a little bit worried about it at the beginning, just take it a little bit smaller. Make sure you're breathing and relaxing. If you're familiar with the movement and you want to go a bit bigger, add the arms in. Let the weight of your arms, notice the weight of your arms joining in. Feel that lovely weight of your arms as you're rolling up. I can feel it just stretching out my shoulders a little bit. There, the head is heavy. One more for luck. All the way up to the top. Arch that back. Relax down. And then coming all the way up. Brilliant. Let's bring the feet a little bit closer together. So just sort of inside shoulder width apart, I would say. Let's reach up. Again, trying to touch the ceiling. We're lengthening the spine, looking up, holding both arms up. Stay looking up, just pitch that weight forwards more onto the balls of the feet, not that much, so that you fall out of the position, just so that weight's pitched forwards, and then lower the arms, lower your eye line. So now we've got this lovely lengthened spine, and we've lifted the rib cage off of the hips. We're going to go into elbow lead side bends, but we're just warming up the side seam of your spine first of all. Remember to take your head all the way over to the side with you. Keeping the weight even on both feet, so there's no swapping from side to side. As I come through the centre, I'm trying to grow a little bit taller. And then I'm going to hold over to one side. This is where we start to lead with the elbow. So we're already in a nice side bend. We've lifted that elbow up, the hand is really relaxed. You're taking the arm straight up to the ceiling and then coming upright. Thinking about working down the side seam. Over to the other side, lift the elbow. If that's a bit uncomfortable on your shoulder, just do what you can. Take the straight arm up to the ceiling and then come upright. We're going to add on a little bit more each time. Over to the side, lift the elbow, take the straight arm up. From here, where we've got this straight line all the way up to the ceiling, I'm just going to take that arm over. So it's over coming towards my top ear. It's continuing the curve. Just moving that arm from there to there will increase that stretch. Coming up, make sure you're breathing, you're nice and relaxed. Clear the shoulders, take the elbow up. Straight arm first, and then just gently reach across with that arm, trying to lift out of this side and the underneath side as well. Good. Adding on a couple more things. Over to the side, clear the elbow, take the straight arm up, stretch the arm across. Now add to the curve by pushing into that side on the hip all the way round. And then coming up. One more of those. Over to the side. Lift the elbow, take the arm up. Stretch across with the arm first, then push the hips across. From here we're going to roll down to the centre, rolling all the way down and bend both knees. Just let your head hang, and if you're not familiar with this movement, just have a little look first of all. So lift your head up and just watch. I'm going to let my head hang, both legs are bent, and then I'm just going to straighten one leg and bend the other. So alternating, notice that my hips will drop
from side to side. So drop your head down now. Let those legs be bent, both legs bent. Just nod your head, shake your head, make sure there's no tension in the back of that neck. And then alternate, straightening one leg, bending the other leg. So quite a nice stretch on its own. Good, and then bend both knees and roll up through the spine as we did in the centre. So we're going to add that movement on. I just want to show you this first if you haven't done it before. So we're going over to the side, taking the elbow, straight arm, stretch across, push the hips across. We're going to roll all the way down. That arm that I just used, I just had on top, I'm going to straighten that leg. Lifting the elbow up towards the ceiling, looking up at it, extending the arm to the ceiling, and then you unravel yourself like Pooh Bear. So try that with me on the other side. Just relax, it feels really nice once it goes right. So we're over to one side. Lift the elbow, take the arm straight up. Stretch the arm across. Push the hips across, holding that there a moment. Now bending the knees. Think about the arm that you just had up in the air. Holding it here, straighten that same side leg. Lift the elbow and rotate your shoulders. Lift the elbow up to the ceiling. Look past that elbow. Extend your arm up to the ceiling like you're trying to reach the ceiling, and then allow yourself to be pulled up. One leg stays straight, the other is bent. You miraculously unravel your spine all the way to the top. Great job. One more on the other side. If you did the first one with me, you're going to need to do another two, I reckon. So straight arm up, stretching across, pushing away, hold that there. Relax all the way down. Straighten the same side leg as the arm you just had on top. We're on the other side now. Lift the elbow, rotate your shoulders, look past your elbow to the ceiling. Take that arm, that hand all the way up towards the ceiling, and then just allow that to unravel, and then coming all the way down. Well done. Hopefully that should feel quite nice. So that was an elbow lead roll up. For our rotation today, we're going to add this on in a moment to some movements. I just want you to clasp your hands and in quite a relaxed fashion, draw a figure of 8. So the two circles of your figure of 8 are at the side of your body. And right now, I'd like you to let your shoulders open up. Let your hip go with that same, the shoulder that's pulling back, the hip is pulling back, and let your ankles rotate. And this is our general figure of 8 direction, if you like. I'm going to ask you to reverse it in a moment, which takes a little bit of thinking about. So imagine you're kayaking down the river. You will be soon, I'm sure. So we're here. Good, and so the reverse movement is to go up and back and almost take like an underarm bowl, up and back and then underarm bowl. And I have to sort of turn my head a little bit more. So I'm still drawing a circle either side, still drawing that figure of 8. Rotating around the spine. So that's our reverse direction. Don't worry if it's all gone horribly wrong. It feels a little bit weird, and you will automatically default to the kayaking one if you haven't quite got that. Okay, so looking at some squats. Before we do squats, let's take a narrow hip hinge. I'm going to turn sideways. Feet are narrow, which is hip width apart, the hip bones at the front, not the sides of your hips. Insteps nice and parallel. I tend to put my hands here at the crease of my hips because we're doing a narrow mini hip hinge. It does what it says on the tin. You hinge from the hips, nothing else changes. You send that bottom back behind you. Nothing else changes in the shape of my spine. From the crown of my head to my sacrum, there's no change. You pitch forward about 30 degrees, and you should be able to, if you can hold it there. So knees are slightly soft, but not bent, because then that becomes a squat. You should be able to quite easily lift the whole of the front of your foot up and tap it on the floor, both at the same time, without too much change and without feeling uncomfortable. You might start to feel a little bit of work going on in the lower back, absolutely fine. Make sure you're pulling your belly button in, not really strongly, but be braced here. Don't just let it all collapse. In fact, if you do collapse, you're going to fall out of the position. There's no support. We want that lift, we want that lovely tall lengthened spine. So the beginning and the end of all of our squats are a hip hinge. The first thing we do is send that bottom back, because we don't want to stay upright and have those knees shooting forwards. This is fine, but it's not where we want to be. And also, if you just do this a moment, I can't actually keep my heels down. Some of you will be able to keep your heels down as well. Keep your back upright. It's very strong on those quads and your knees. The hinge at the hips, makes the back line of the body do the work. Your back is in its natural curves. It's great for the knees. It's all good on your knees. Your knees are above your ankles, and then you're coming up. That's where we want to be squatting. So I'm going to face forwards, staying in this narrow position where weight is on my heels. There's the beginning. There's your hip hinge, sending the bottom back and then coming down. And I'm looking in the mirror for perfect symmetry between my legs. My hips are at the same height, my knees are at the same height, my feet are parallel, my shoulders are nice and square, so I haven't allowed them to round forwards and coming up. The angle of my back is no different than it was when I was doing the mini hip hinge. The change is more crease at the hips, bending of the knees, flexing at the ankles. Those are the two parts that change. All the way down. Good, so our goal with the squats is to fire up the buttocks and also just to keep that upper body position really, really good. And it's a good functional movement to be able to do. And we would just want to remind our body how to do it all the time. So we're going to take 3 counts down into the deepest part of your squat and 1 count up. Hopefully, here we go, so 3, 2, 1, hold it here a moment, just checking everything. Look down if you haven't got a mirror. Make sure the knees are over the toes, the weight's back on the heels. Coming up quite quickly, and again, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully, I didn't finish off that sentence. As you push down through those heels, drive through the floor, you're going to feel your buttocks firing up. 3, 2, 1. Push down, engage. 3, 2, 1. Push down and coming up. 1 more for luck, so 5 sets. 3, 2, 1. Pushing down and coming up. Nice. Let's reverse the direction. So we're going to go down quickly. We're coming up in stages. 3, 2, 1. Hopefully, again, fingers crossed, the moment you take that first stage to come up, you can feel those buttocks activating. Don't worry if they're not. It's not the end of the world, but it would be good if you can start to get them to fire up when they should do. If you're feeling this in your quads, you possibly got those knees too far forwards over your toes. Make sure you're sending your bottom back. A good way to practice this, I think that was the 5th one. Let's go a bit wider now. So a good way to practice, especially your wider squats, is to be in front of a chair, maybe a dining room chair which is quite high, or a settee which is quite high, or maybe put a cushion on the settee and send your bottom back. So you've got the hip hinge, send your bottom back to just brush that cushion or the top of the chair seat, and then coming up again. So for this one, last one we had our feet really parallel. Now we want the toes turned out slightly. 2 minutes to 2 minutes past the hour, as opposed to a dead on 12 o'clock position. You can try it with dead on 12 o'clock. Knees are over the toes, but I find there's almost like a block in my hips here. With that slight turn out of the legs, mainly noticing it in the toes, but the whole legs will turn out, so the knees are going over the toes.
There's suddenly loads more freedom in my hip joint. I can get my hips down a little bit lower. Let's do a few more. As I'm coming up, I'm really pushing down through my heels. It's like I'm trying to send my feet through these floorboards into that gap underneath, which is about that deep. So we're there, you're pushing down, and I can really feel it switching on buttocks. Good. If your back is starting to feel a bit uncomfortable, maybe stop. Maybe just think about, are you really supporting the lower back by lifting the pelvic floor a little bit, keeping that belly button pulling in tight. Let's take our 5 sets, both directions of the speed change. So 3 down, 1 up. So 1, 2, 3, holding it there, checking technique. Drive down and push up nice and quickly. 1, 2, 3. Whoops, I overshot that first one. And pushing up. 1, 2, 3. Check for symmetry and push down. 2 more sets. 1, 2, 3. Push down. Make sure those knees are going over the toes. Last set of this variety and push up. Now let's drop down. Weight is back on the heels. Coming up. 3, 2, 1. I'm almost trying to push my feet apart a little bit as well. Drop down. Keep that chest up. None of this going on. Pushing down. 3, 2, 1. And again. Holding. 3, 2, 1. Are those buttocks starting to wake up a little bit? Last one. Here we go. All the way down. Good symmetry in those legs. And back to the top. Great. Let's turn the legs out now as much as you can in the hip socket. So this is more like 12 minutes to and 12 minutes past. Not a flat on 1/4 to and 1/4 past, unless you're a professional ballet dancer. And even then, we're not really doing ballet for now. So as much turn out as you can, but most importantly, when you bend your knees, your chest stays upright this time. Make sure those knees are going over the toes. If I go sideways on, make sure your heels are in the same line. Your chest stays upright this time. There's still a hinge, or there's still an increase in this crease at your hip, but really make sure those knees are going over the toes just as far as you can personally. If that ankle is collapsed, that knee's going to roll in, has a knock-on effect on every single thing there. And it will make you twisted and make everything else. So the whole body will be kicked out of sync. So, legs wide, down you go. First couple of these are always a little bit ooh-ah. Making sure those knees are going over the toes. Again, looking for perfect symmetry if you can see yourself in the mirror. Not too wide with the legs, not too wide with the heels. The pelvis doesn't really need to, hips don't need to drop down lower than your knees. Parallel thighs to the floor is about where we want to be. Let's take that change of speed. So we've got 3, 2, 1. I'm going to take my arms up and down with the arms, up with the legs. 3, 2, 1, and there. 3, 2, 1, and we're here. So you're going to notice more work on the thighs now, because our centre of gravity is still in the centre. You haven't sent your hips back. You're not making the back line of the body work harder than the front, like you do in the hip hinge. 2, I think this is an extra one, but 1 more for luck. Great, let's drop down and take those arms up. And slowly, let's bring the arms into a capital E as we come up. 3, 2, 1, and then straighten those arms up. So this is now suddenly more challenging with those arms up. 3, 2, 1. I'm pinning my elbows back, trying to get my elbows more forwards than my hands. So not there. And we've got down in 1, 3, 2, 1 to come up. Down in 1, staying upright with that chest. 1 more after this one. Here we go. All the way down. 3, 2, 1, and coming up. Brilliant. Keep the legs wide. Now turn the feet into parallel. Same width apart. So now we're taking a hinge again, but this isn't a mini hip hinge. This is a big wide leg hip hinge. You're doing the same thing, hinging from the hip, but this will have a very strong stretch on your hamstrings when you find your biting point for that stretch. Keep those shoulders nice and square. So what I mean by that is don't let them round, pin them back a little bit, breathe a bit of life there, keep the chin tucked in, and then we're coming up, hinging forwards. So if this is the first class you've done for a little while, stretching these hamstrings, is you're going to feel it in the next couple of days. Be gentle with yourself. It's absolutely fine if you're, as long as you're feeling the stretch if you're here, and as long as you haven't changed the shape of your back. If you can get all the way to here, you don't really need to go any lower than parallel to the floor. Just make sure that weight is on the balls of the feet, tapping both heels. Make sure the back of the neck is long. I'm pinning those shoulder tips back a little bit and then coming up. Great job. We have got yeah, okay, let's leave that there. Give the legs a bit of a shake. So into our alternate lunges, going backwards. So I'm going to go along the length of my yoga mat. If you've got a yoga mat, great, because it'll just help you to sort of define the same sort of space that I'm using. But if you haven't, maybe think about getting a towel, a beach towel, just so that you've got roughly a rectangle to work with. It will just help you. And I find, so I'm facing the top of my yoga mat now. I want my shoulders and hips to be square to that, which is that area which is my front. I'm going to take one leg back at a time and try and drop that knee down so it just brushes on the floor, and then we're swapping legs. I'm aiming for 2 90-degree angles of my legs. If you're not sure about that, or you don't know how to set that up, you could try going from here. So I've got that back knee down, I've got 2 90-degree angles, toes are curled under on the back leg, I'm pushing up and going there. If that really doesn't suit your body, feel free to hang on to something, kitchen worktop, wherever you're doing your workout, the wall, the back of a chair, dining room table, the settee, and maybe don't go as low if that's not good for your knees, but do make sure your chest is upright, your spine is in the centre, your weight is in the centre, and make sure you're bending both knees equally. So we're still swapping over. If you are using a hand to help you for support, absolutely not a problem, but make sure it doesn't distract, it doesn't distort your upper body position. So sometimes I get my people to just be really close to the wall so that they hardly need it, but if they need to, they can just put that hand there just for a bit of support. Ideally though, fingertips to temples, chest is up, big old step back, brush the knee and come forwards. So lunges are difficult, lunges are tough, but lunges are so good to work on our alignment. I'm going to face you. Our alignment and our balance. Hips and shoulders are absolutely square to my front. I'm making sure this knee is above my ankle, making sure that back knee is in line with my hip. Try not to go on a tightrope. If you go too close in, it's really difficult to balance. If anything, take that back leg out a little bit. So we're there. I'm going to go back this way. Keeping going if you can. So if those toes, if your toes don't bend that much, again, this is tough on those toes as you go back. Another thing which makes lunges difficult to do. If you don't want to keep stepping in and out of it, have some support. Stay in a static lunge, so just bending and lowering. When you've had enough on one leg, swap to the other side. And then, if you can, I'd like you to have your, I'm going to just move my mat over this way a little bit, because I know what's coming up. You're going to need to stretch your arms out here, and I'm just touching this wall here, just at the end. So I'm going to have my weaker leg for one leg standing in front. I'm going to take the other leg back. And if you can, we're going to hover in this 90-degree angle position. If you need to be up a little bit higher, it's absolutely fine. But again, make sure both legs are bent equally, hips and shoulders facing forwards. Here comes those figure of 8, that kayaking. We're here. We are rotating. Tough on the balance. So the difference between what we did when we did this standing up was that now, you can't let your hips and ankles join in with this lovely rotation. But this is exactly what I want. So your legs are staying stable, your pelvis is staying stable. You're taking a natural rotation either side. Make sure those shoulders are really going from side to side. Relatively easy is to keep your head forwards. Much harder is to turn and look as you draw that big figure of 8 at the side of your body. This might be getting uncomfortable. Try and stay with it. We've got a little bit more to go on this leg. You're going to be glad to know. Okay, I'm going to pitch forwards all the way onto that front leg. Try not to put that other leg down. Whew. So we're here. Straight standing leg. Arms are up to the ceiling. I'm going to bend my standing leg. I'm going to take my other leg out behind me. I've created a diagonal line. From here, I'm going to hinge over my hip and pitch forwards on this diagonal line, maintaining the diagonal line. So my leg is only coming up at the back as far as my upper body is pitching forwards. I'm aiming for you to try, if you can, a capital T. So that means my body, my leg is parallel to the floor. My arms are going to go out to the side so that I really feel like a capital T. I'm going to straighten my standing leg and try and hold that. This is very, very strong. My back leg hip wants to lift up. Actually, where I've positioned myself in the room, I can just lightly touch the wall with my fingertip, and it's really quite handy for helping me to balance. I'm going to bend that knee. Woo! Try not to put that foot down underneath it. And lift up to a grand old finish, holding that there. And good job. Tough on that standing leg, buttock hopefully, but possibly anywhere on that standing leg. But good work if you manage to stay with it. Okay, let's just get warmed up a little bit again for the other side and just ease that standing leg where it's possibly tightened up a bit from that amount of work. So fingertips to temples, and let's take some alternating lunges again. Maybe not too low with that knee. Just work through that stress. Hopefully that will ease off a little bit. If you go straight into doing the other side, I find your brain is distracted by the amount of work that you just did on one side. So we're there. Great. So one more. I'm going to set the other leg in front, all the way back. Really good upright position. Drop that back knee down. Be at the same height you were on the other side. Try and tuck the pelvis under a little bit. Make sure your hips and shoulders are square. We're going to clasp the hands. Now you might be thinking, oh good, she forgot about the reverse direction with the figure of 8. But no, I've remembered, so we're going to do it all reverse on this side. So it goes up and then under, up and under, up, above your head, low bowling underarm bowl to go through. You have to turn your head side to side with this one because those shoulders have to open out to take the arms up. So this is tougher. Sorry about that. Woo. Try and keep those legs where they are.
strong work on that back thigh is where I'm feeling it most. Go with it a little bit. Remember, this is where the magic happens. If you've had enough, stop. Wait for the next bit, give yourself a little bit of a break. You need to build up to the stamina in some of these exercises. I reckon I'm going to do 4 more. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to pitch my weight forwards onto that standing leg and lifting up, gathering myself a moment. Shoulders and hips square, facing forwards, arms up by the ears. Bending your standing leg, stretch the leg out behind you, which creates a little pitch forwards, and I've created this diagonal line from my fingertips to my back foot heel maybe, and then I'm hinging over that hip. Very strong work on the buttocks. Make sure you're keeping the chin tucked in. Think of lengthening out through the top back corner of your head. I'm taking my arms out to the side. Sadly for me, I can't actually reach the wall this time, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm going to have to do this run really well. I'm going to try and straighten that standing leg and hold that there. Hips and shoulders square to the floor now. All 4 corners of your tissue box. And I'm just going to bend that knee and coming up out of it. Try and stay on that one leg if you can. A little tap there. Lifting up, holding that there. And relax. Okay, so feet are wide, insteps are parallel. We're going to take, I call these my dance stretches. So think about your legs staying square to the front. You need to be quite wide with this one, maybe even wider than we were with our wide leg hip hinge forwards. So taking one arm up to the ceiling, turn your shoulders only towards this foot, towards that top corner. Hips and feet are staying, legs are staying exactly where they were. Lengthen forwards towards the corner. Holding that there a moment. It's a strong old stretch at the back of the leg that you've just stretched towards. And then you're going to relax your upper body down. Take hold of that lower leg. Take your head towards the knee. And now it's an even stronger stretch at the back of that leg. And breathe. Make sure you breathe all the way through. Bend your other knee. This should change the stretch. If it doesn't change the stretch where you're feeling it, you haven't got your legs wide enough. So it should change the stretch to your inside thigh and the side of your back that you're pulling away from. So the side of the back on the bent leg side. Make sure that knee, the bent knee, is over your little toes. Rotate your shoulders around, lift your elbow up like we did earlier. Straight arm up to the ceiling, hold it there, this is about rotation. Relax in the middle, bend both knees, relax your head, nod your head, shake your head, and then roll up through the spine, lifting the back, lifting the upper back, strongly pulling that belly button in and unravel your spine all the way to the top. On the other side, we're just going to do this once more each side. So shoulders only, lengthen forwards, keep the chin tucked in. Until you feel the stretch on the back of that, it's my left leg, you might be on the other side. Then relax all the way down, take hold of that lower leg, take your head towards your knee. Notice I say towards your knee, you might not be anywhere near. You might be holding your leg up here, that's absolutely fine. Work with what you've got. Just try and improve it a little bit. Now bend that other knee. Nothing really changes, don't change the position of your head, your leg. Just bend the knee, make sure the knee's pushing out over your toes. Notice the stretch changing. Into the groin, inside thigh, on the straight leg, and across the side seam of your back on the bent leg side. Take that elbow up to the ceiling. You've already rotated those shoulders. Extend the arm. Hold it there. And breathe. Great job. Relax in the middle, bend both knees, nod your head, shake your head, roll up through the spine. We're going to do one more time each side. Breathing in as you move into the stretch. Breath out when you're there and hold it. Breath in. Relax the upper body down. Hold it there. Breath out. On the breath out, try and deepen the stretch. Bend the other knee. Hold it there. Breathe out. Deepen the stretch. Lift that elbow up to the ceiling. Extend the arm up. Hold it, rotate. Use the hand on the lower leg to help you rotate round more. Relax in the middle, roll up through the spine, unravelling, lifting the other arm up, turning the shoulders. This is all breath in. Lengthen, lengthen out through the crown of your head. And breathe out. Breath in, relax all the way down. Try and lay your chest across that leg, along that leg. Breathe out, deepen the stretch. Breath in, bend your other knee. Hold it there, breathe, deepen the stretch on the out breath. Lift the arm up to the ceiling, extend the arm. Rotate more on the out breath. Relax in the middle. Roll up through the spine, unravelling as you come up. Good job, well done. We are going to come down onto the floor. So, little tough abdominal section coming up. You'll be glad to know. This is all about the shape of your spine, creating a C curve in your spine. So if you can, sitting really nice and upright. If this is a problem for you, then you need to work on it, unfortunately. On the floor is probably the hardest position to try and work on it. So just sit on a nice dining room chair, nice upright chair. You want to be sitting right up on your sit bones with your spine in its natural curves, just lifting the crown of the head up and holding that there. It's strong. It's like you're working all the muscles in your back. We don't ever sit like this. We don't ever sit bolt upright, but it's good to build that stamina. So this is the spine in its natural curves from the crown of your head to your sacrum. We're going to really strongly scoop the tummy in and tuck your pelvis under. So I'm really scooping in here. It makes you quite hungry. It's quite handy because we can all go and have a tea after this. Scooping in, but it's tilting my pelvis, which is making my upper back round. And I'm going to go back a little way. So I've gone past my sit bones. I'm now sort of on my sacrum. I don't know whether you can see, but I'm in this sort of curve shape here. I'm thinking about, it's not quite a pure C curve, but I'm thinking about creating a C curve from the top of my head round here to the sacrum. Before I had the natural curves of my spine, now this is this rounded position. From there, I'm going to keep the rounded position, bring my shoulders over my hips, sit tall, up to the top again. So let's try that again. So round the back, go back past your sit bones onto your sacrum, keep this scoop in your tummy. Now maybe bring the arms in and then take them up. As you take them up, let those arms lift you up to a nice long lengthened spine. I'm just trying to get that flesh out the way of my sit bones, sitting up really tall. Lifting everything up. I don't care if the shoulders are up around the ears, looking up to the ceiling. Your favourite film star is about to rescue you through the roof, and you want to be able to maintain that contact, but you've just missed them. You're going to flex your feet and you're going to let your upper body relax and lengthen along your legs. Do not worry if you can't take hold of your toes. Again, it's all about a level of flexibility which you might not have at the moment. That's absolutely fine. So just reaching forwards, touching the hands to the lower legs. Now imagine someone's got hold of your waistband behind you and they're pulling you backwards. We're going to point the feet, we're going to roll backwards into, there's that scoop again. From here, bringing those arms in, brush the fingertips past your face. From here,
reaching up all the way up to the ceiling. Flex the feet, roll forwards. Continue that movement, you're rolling back, pointing the feet. I'm going to draw one leg in, so this should be relatively easy. Nothing has changed, I've just bent this leg. And then I'm going to extend that leg out, 45 degrees, beautifully straight, pointed foot, tummy really scooped. As I lower that leg, I'm going to take that reach up to the ceiling and then flex and roll and lengthen forwards. Round in the back, someone's pulling you back this way again. It's all going on. Bend that knee, draw in. Sort of making like a wave effect here. Great, so leg nice and straight, beautiful. That leg lowers, you're lifting up to the ceiling and reaching forwards. One more each side for single legs. We're here. So there's no excuse for not having a straight leg here. It's not about your hamstring length. Your pelvis is so tucked under, everyone should be able to get a straight leg there. Lifting up and then flexing. Hopefully this is getting a little bit better, a little bit more mobile each time. Rounding that back, staying scooped. That's how I'm supporting everything. Shoulders not too rounded. Lifting the chest up. Flexing forwards. We're going to do 2 more double legs if you can. Just do 2 more singles if you don't want to do doubles. Rounding, drawing those legs in. We're balancing here, lengthening those legs away. It's not actually as tough as it looks. Lowering those legs, lifting up, flexing the feet, relaxing all the way forwards. One more, last one. So if you don't want to do this leg extension, just come to here. Just come to rounding, rolling like a ball position, same sort of thing. Strongly scooped, tummy in nice and tight. Lengthen those legs, hold them there if you can. Arms are repeating the angle of the legs. If you were to lift your chest, you'd be in the teaser. Good, and then we are lifting that chest up, lowering the legs and reaching all the way forwards. Good job. 2 more things, 2 more exercises, where we're going to think about trying to maintain that exact same shape of your spine. So this C curve, it's almost like it's quite a shallow C curve. It's like it's a rocking chair. It's the legs, the sleeper. Is it sleepers? The bottom of the rocking chair. Anyway, so we're going into rocking abdominals. Funnily enough, from here, I'm going to bend my legs and I'm just hanging on to the backs of my knees. It's quite important, this. So sitting up on my sit bones to start with, I'm creating that C shape and I'm continuing to lower my upper back towards the floor. I've got my arms straight and I'm letting my legs dangle. I've sort of set my arms. They're a bit like the close area where you lock the close area into place, and that's there. If I take my it's quite strong. I'm in this curve. The curve is still there. It's quite a shallow curve, but I'm there. Your job is to hold that curve and to rock like a rocking chair, like a rocking horse. The first one, you have to get a bit of momentum going, but then nothing really changes. If I was to take my hands away, there's no change. What I don't want to see, I don't want to think about is going on, is all of this. This is changing everything. I've changed the shape of my back, changed the shape here, I've changed the angle here, I've changed the angle here, bent my arms, everything has changed. This is nothing changing. Now, draw that, and still, same thing, nothing changes in my spine. I'm going to draw one knee in, I'm going to hug it in, push it against my shoulder, towards my shoulder. I'm compressing in the hip joint. This is tough. This is the last thing we're going to do in this position. I want this shin to be parallel. I want my feet on the same height. I'm hanging on for dear life here. This is helping me to maintain that rocking horse shape in my spine. Swap legs, hug the knee in,
Draw the knee into the shoulder, try and keep it nice and straight, don't let the knee roll out to the side. I'm hanging on here. What this is doing as well with hanging on to this leg is keeping my head above my shoulders. If your head is back here, it's really tough. The head is too heavy, your neck can't cope with it. Feet are at the same height. We're going to swap the legs. So it's a single leg stretch, but quite a strong one, 6 times. So we've got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to put those legs back out again. I'm going to lock my arms out. I'm going to let my feet dangle. My body, my back, my torso is in the same shape. All that's happened is I've changed what I'm doing with my limbs. 2 more. And then another 6. Here we go. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs out here. 6 rocks. 6, 4. Make sure that tummy stays scooped. 1. Last set of 6, but it's not going to be 6, it's going to be 10. We're going to add a twist. So I'm hugging this knee in, I'm turning my shoulders, only my shoulders, nothing else is changing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, halfway there. 6, this is the last thing, people. 7, 8, 9, twist those shoulders. 10, hand, oh, well done. Have a little roll, drop the head down, let those legs loll from side to side. Brilliant. We are coming up to lie on our side for some side bridge work. So, bringing the elbow underneath your shoulder. If your shoulder can't cope with this, you can just lie down in a straight line, or lie down with the leg here. You'll just skip out the bridge work and take the leg lifts. And then if I think of it, I'll give you an alternative for threading the needle. So we're going to do 3 things here. First thing is to have the heels in line with the hips and the butt and basically the rest of your spine. Let your underneath ribs collapse all the way down to the mat and then lift them up. If I face the camera, so I'm lifted here, really bring this elbow in a little bit closer than you think you should, because otherwise it ends up right out here. So we're working the big muscles in the sides of the back, letting that head drop down. I'm just going to lift my hips up so that I'm in a straight line now. Here's my plumb line. It's at a slight angle. Arm is up to the ceiling. Holding those hips, they're only up a couple of inches, hovering to come down to the floor, lifting up again for 5. Hovering, 2, 3, 4, 5, quite subtle movements. I'm just going to square up on one mat again. So again, if you're using your mat, this is good. Stay there, straighten out that top leg, keep that arm reaching up to the ceiling, and then we're lifting and lowering this top leg. My knee and the top of my foot are facing forwards. Should be feeling some work in the buttocks. Hips are stacked. Really try not to let that underneath side collapse. If the neck is starting to feel a bit tense, let that ear drop down towards the mat. Relax the neck. From here, we're going to do 1 more of those leg lifts, holding the hips up. We're going to thread the needle. Watch me if you're not sure. You're going to thread this arm through. Fingertips are touching the floor. I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to take a big breath in. And then I'm going to come back to the front. So breath in, breath out. As you thread it through, hold it there. Breath in. Feel the stretch between those shoulder blades. Breath out, or in, I don't mind. Breath out. So I prefer to breathe out actually as I thread through for that rotation. Hold it, breath in, and then release. 1 more for luck. Holding, breath in, all the way up and relax down. Brilliant. Well done. We're twiddling round to the other side. Tucking that elbow in. So sorry, actually, I said I would give it an alternative. So if that threading the needle didn't suit you, so you're doing your side lying, lifting and lowering, you could be here and thread the needle this way and maybe just stay there and take a roll. Yeah, if you're wanting to thread the needle. Right, so we are here. Legs are bent, heels are in line with your butt, hips are stacked, knees are stacked. Get that underneath elbow tucked in a little bit. Just allow yourself to collapse first of all. That shoulder will overshoot past that elbow, but if you lift up, then you'll find that the elbow is underneath. Keep it tucked in so that you're supporting that shoulder girdle. It's strong work. Arms going up to the ceiling. You're just lifting your hips up until you're in that nice straight diagonal line, your plumb line. Lower the hips, but just to hover. And coming back up again. It's not a very big movement. 3, 4, 5. Holding that there. Keep that elbow tucked in. Keep that rib cage lifted. Extend the top leg. Keeping everything still apart from the leg. Lifting and lowering. No change in the hips. Lift up out of the floor. Got a bit of shaking going on in my shoulder. This is my weaker side. Strong work. Stop. If everything really starts to shake, then stop. If you're in pain, absolutely stop. But if you're just doing the movement with rubbish technique because you're tired, then also stop. Good, one more of those. We're threading the needle. Here we go. Breath out as you go through so that you're releasing that tension. Hold it there, breath in. Release, breath in, breath out. Take your time. Breathe into those ribs at the back. Last one. Breath in, hips stay still, heart to the top, and have a little collapse and a lower. Great job. We will have a little roll around, wiggle around on all fours, just at the very end. Last exercise as such is going to be lying on your tummy, and you're going to have your arms, you're going to need your arms out to the side in this, so parallel with your shoulders. I'm just going to go over this way a little bit, hopefully you can see me. But we're not starting with the arms out to the side, we're starting with the arms down by your side. So backs of the hands down. So imagine you're doing the dart, so you've just come from an extended back position, connect that rib cage down, lift your hips up. Let's have the legs just hip width apart and parallel or slightly turned out. Backs of the hands on the floor. Allow your shoulder tips to round forward. So I call this Quasimodo shoulders. Keep your chin tucked in. The tip of my nose is just brushing the mat. Relax your buttocks. And then just notice here, are both shoulders in the same position? You might have one that's slightly higher than the other. Try and get them as relaxed as you can. And then we're just going to lift the shoulder tips on their own and lower. If you've not done this before, have a little look. Watch the technique. There's nothing else moving in my body. I'm not lifting my head, I'm not lifting my back. I'm just using the muscles around the shoulder blades, ideally, to lift the shoulder tips up. So from a rounded, curved position, I'm coming into a straight line from one shoulder across to the other shoulder. Rounded, relaxed, straight line. Try not to let your elbows lift up. They will lift because you're lifting the shoulders up, but try not to let them bend and make that will mean that your triceps, the backs of your arms are doing all the work. Just this bit on its own. Okay, so let's take those arms out to the side. In fact, I'm going to go this way. I'm just going to bend my knees so that hopefully you can see. Just watch a moment. So arms are out to the side. Your legs will be straight out behind you, but I'm going to hit the wall, yeah. So you're here. This time I want you to just lift your back a little bit. Go fingertips on the floor. Make a sort of itsy bitsy spider. You're there. And then just extend the fingertips out. So this is my arms parallel to the floor, and we're going to lift beyond parallel if you can, and just brush the fingertips. So that's the range of movement. Again, no change in your upper back as you're doing that. I am lifting up a little bit higher to start though. So I'm on my bottom 3 or 4 ribs. Arms are out to the side. Maybe connect a little bit more in the legs. Turn the legs out slightly, push the pubic bone into the mat. Arms are straight, fingertips just brushing the floor. Lift and lower. So you should be feeling some good work around your shoulder blades in your back. Nowhere else. Again, there's no lifting and lowering. This is scapular stability, building the endurance in those muscles so that your shoulders don't, the top and back of your neck and shoulders doesn't lift up and do the job of lifting your arms up all the time. This keeps your shoulder blades flat against the rib cage wall at the back, keeps everything stable. Imagine you're drawing some curtains towards each other, towards the centre, which is your spine. Finishing off this movement, I'm going to bring my arms in, my palms are still down, into a low V, reaching my fingertips towards my feet. I'm going to lift my back up a little bit more. If you can, open up the front of the shoulders even more, and then just take some circles of the whole arm. Golf ball size circles at your fingertips. Think of the little finger side coming in. Hold that there. I'm pushing my pubic bone into the mat. I'm keeping my belly button drawn in to support that lower back. Do what you can. Keep going in the same direction with this one. Up and in towards the body with that little finger. And then have a good old relax. Well done. Come up onto all fours. Just finishing off, which hopefully you will instinctively want to do, with some spine circles. So from all fours, I'm taking like a skipping rope with my spine, with my rib cage. I'm lifting the rib cage up, pushing it out to one side, letting it drop down to the floor, pushing it to the other side, coming up and over. And changing direction. Breathing. Free up those shoulders. Let's take some shoulder rolls. I'm bending the arms a little bit, rolling back, maybe rolling forwards. Let's take some horizontal circles. So the torso stays fairly still. Spread your fingers and your thumbs far apart. Stress those wrists. Change direction. Curling your toes under if you can. We're curling the toes under, lifting the hips up. Keep the legs bent for initially if you want to. Push the chest back through your arms. Bring your shoulders over. Lower those knees with control. Curl the toes under. Lift up, push back. You might want to try and straighten the legs. Bend the knees, come forwards, drop down. We're going to go into some bear walks if you want to. Lift your hips up. Keep the hips really high. I'm just going to try and straighten my legs. I'm just going to drop my hips from side to side. One arm forwards, stretching. The opposite foot comes forwards and reaching. Every single part of this. I'm getting a wonderful stretch at the back of my leg, all around my shoulders. When you're reversing it, take the foot back first and then the hand, lengthen. As I take that foot away, getting a wonderful stretch down the opposite upper back. All the way back. Let's just hold those legs nice and straight, or if you feel like it, just pad in, bend one knee, push the heels down, stretching those calves. Well done. I'm going to lower my knees down. Whew, fantastic, good job. Nice work, everyone.